Longtime residents of Cape Cod are accustomed to the occasional beach strandings by sea critters, but this week has been a whole new level. More than 400 turtles have washed ashore in recent days after getting stranded in Cape Cod Bay. Even now, experts say they can't keep up with the number of turtles coming ashore, as many as 30 per tide. WGBH News science editor Heather Goldstone joins us now with more. So this happens every year, Heather. I mean,
it does.
More and more and more, but now this is crazy. What's happening?
Well, I mean, as you said, the numbers are unprecedented. Over 400 in more than just about 3 weeks into the season. That would be more than in any normal season. The past 2 years have been the highest numbers they've ever seen. 268 last year, somewhere between 400 and 500 the year before that. Those were record numbers, and now we've seen that just in the first couple of weeks of this season.
Does it end at some point? I mean, at what point do they stop? Do they either die or stop coming ashore?
Well, it definitely ends. So what's happening is that these turtles come north for the summer because we've got so much food here, right? They come up here, they enjoy the food for the summer, and then
Crabs,
they should be
mussels.
heading.
We're competing with them.
Just like everybody else, they come for the beaches. No, then they head south for the winter. At least that's the idea. Some of them maybe stay too long. Others maybe get trapped by Cape Cod, the way it juts out, and it's basically like a big roadblock as they're heading south, and then the water temperature drops, and when it hits 50 degrees, they're cold-blooded, of course, and so they start to slow down. They can't hunt. They get dehydrated. At a certain point, they get hypothermic and literally paralyzed by the cold. And then if you get these winds, they blow them onto the shore, or the tide carries them into the beach, and that's when you actually get the strandings. And so some level of the strandings, happens every year, but this year the numbers are just completely off the charts.
It's amazing. I was reading all about these critters today because I knew we were doing this, and they are the rarest form of sea turtles. They're small. They go up to about 100 pounds, but that's why they're
well. So that's the Kemp Ridley's turtles are the ones that have typically been the ones that have stranded. But another thing that's been interesting in the past 2 years and now again this year is that we're also seeing green and loggerhead turtles joining the strandings. And they actually, among the turtles that they've rescued this week, is the largest loggerhead that they've ever rescued. Over 300 pounds.
Oh my God!
Huge mature female, and a female actually, her. And she was, when I spoke to someone from the Wellfleet Bay Audubon earlier today, was actually on her way to the aquarium, kind of being rushed because she wasn't in great shape.
I think we have some video, I hope we do, of what's going on at the aquarium, which is just incredible because they're picking up, here we go, they're picking up all of them. Some of them are little guys, some of them are more mature. But are the little ones more apt to get stranded? Do you know?
They probably are. Yeah. I mean, first of all, they can get blown pretty easily, and they're smaller. You know, think about it. A smaller animal has a harder time keeping their body temperature up, right? But yeah, the aquarium's turtle hospital. This is actually a dedicated turtle hospital.
Yeah, this one's down in Quincy.
Yeah, and it's a fabulous.
Oh, they give them a little number, little code there.
They're all numbered. Some of them are even named. They're all getting really great care. They make sure that they, the biggest thing is they have to get them back up to temperature.
Why does
so
it
up
take
to at least
so
50
long?
degrees, and then they have to get some food into them, get some liquids into them. Some of them get really bruised as they're brought in, and so they're treating any bruises or cuts. Some of them, if they're out there for too long, can even end up with pneumonia. So they're treating all sorts of different things. And actually right now, because they've got such huge numbers coming in, they're thinking about setting up essentially like a field hospital, a triage center down on the Cape. And then they have the hospital, and then some of the ones who came in earlier in the season, they tend to come in better shape. They haven't been as cold for as long. And some of those are already in good enough shape that the aquarium's shipping them off to other centers around the country to finish the rehab.
Well, that was my question, because even when a human being gets hypothermia or something, it seems like it's a couple weeks maybe before but they keep these guys sometimes 3 months.
Well, they have to keep them for one. They can't release them up here in the middle of winter. The same thing would happen again. And so it's a matter of holding it until temperatures are right. And so some of them they do take farther south to release down in the Carolinas or down in Florida, maybe in the spring. Others they wait and they're released up here farther north next summer. So it just kind of depends on who has the resources for them.
So when they do the release, what do they do? Do they put them, pack them in trucks and then just take them to, because I was stunned by this, like the females come ashore en masse, they all lay eggs at the same time. I mean, so does it confuse them if they're not all together,
Well, I think it's a couple of different things. What they're doing when they're up here is they're not laying eggs. They're up here just for food. None of these turtles are nesting in New England. It's too cold. That's something they're doing somewhere else. And I think there's less of a confusion issue. But yeah, I think we actually have some video of releasing some turtles from last year. You can see they've literally got these turtles in crates that they're carrying down to the beach. And so they're putting a few of them out there, but whether or not they actually need to be in a group to go do their thing once they've been released,
Yeah. So do they know if these? I mean, do they all survive? Do they have any idea?
How many survive after
the
release?
release?
I mean, they have a very good track record in terms of the rehabilitation at the hospital. The numbers are somewhere at least a half, maybe up to 80% in some cases of the animals that they bring in. The numbers, the survival numbers go down as the season gets later, as I said, as the water temperatures get colder and they come in worse shape. But
excuse me, do they track them the way they do sharks?
Well, so not all of them are tracked. I mean, especially when you've got 400 of them coming in, right? They don't tag all 400. They're not all tagged. Some of them might end up being tagged for research, but it's not a standard part of it. So no, they're not keeping track of all of them after they're released to make sure that they know how many.
No, I just wondered if
surviving.
If they knew if they took them to Florida, do some of these make their way back to Cape Cod because it's such fertile.
You know, some of the turtles, it depends on the species, and some of them are coming up every summer. Some of them make the trip really only once during their lifetime, so it kind of depends from species to species. Yeah.
So they've actually figured out a way so that these turtles don't drown in fishing nets anymore. They've gotten much more sophisticated with that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the kind of the good news story in all of this, although it seems horrible to watch 400 turtles wash up on a beach, is that part of the reason that they think they're seeing more of these turtles strand is that there are actually more turtles in New England's waters, whether it's, you know, keeping them out of fishing nets or other hunting or whatever the protections are working. The populations are growing. More of them are coming up here. It may also be combined with a little bit of climate change. Waters are warmer, and so they may be coming actually farther north than they used to, more up into the Gulf of Maine, Cape Cod Bay region, and getting trapped. They used to see more strandings in New York, now they see less in New York and more here, a little bit farther north. So a combination of good news and maybe not so good news.
All right, Heather Goldstone, always a pleasure to have you.
Good to be here.